Hello, once again, my name is Tim Grady. I am from the Lawton Seventh-day Adventist Church, Lawton, Oklahoma, USA. I'm just a member. Today, I'd like to talk about building a Gothic arch. There's a lot to this, so let's start with the advantages. First advantage, very inexpensive. Second advantage, very few materials compared to traditional stick-built housing. Advantage number two goes back to advantage number one, very inexpensive. Advantage number three goes back to advantage number two because the building of it is very quick, because there is less materials, less things to put up, lighter materials. Advantage number four, the fourth advantage is one person can put this up in a very short period of time. But there are certain things you have to pay attention to. Okay. Now, if you are in a place that needs engineered drawings, you can get engineered drawings for these and build them to the specifications. But I'm going to point out this individual. He built it for a shed. He built it rapidly, and it lasted 5 years. I've seen some not quite as poorly built as this man's building, but I've seen poorly built ones last 20 and 30 years with minimal problems. I've seen them in greenhouses. I've seen them in boat sheds. I've seen them in I've seen them in houses, many houses built this way. But let's talk about this guy right here. This guy right here, he did some things wrong. First thing he did wrong is up here at the top. Let's see. I think let's go to this one. Okay. It's hard to see here, but when he does it, there's a ridge board, a 2x4 that runs all the way down, that all of the arches connect to that ridge board. That ridge board, you see where the pointer is at the top here. That ridge board has blocks all the way to the end, and the blocks are screwed or nailed into the ridge board. This is the proper way to do it. Now, there are other ones that come in and make a little notch out, and they put plywood over here and continue tying through. That's the proper way to do it. If you want it to last many years, you put plywood about 6 inches this side, about 6 inches down, 6 inches over. So it would be about a 1 foot by 1 foot plywood with the notch cut out for the board, and then the angle of the arch cut out, and then screwed into the spreader boards over here. So if you look at this one, it doesn't have that. This guy in this video right here, when he's making it, he admitted what he did wrong. And this is his failure analysis video of how he built it and built it wrong. Okay, he made lap joints instead of scarf joints. You can look up the difference between a lap joint. You can see where they're overlaid here, A scarf joint is where you take two boards and you make them at an angle. And it's usually 1 foot per inch. Okay, let me point out some other things here. Find my pointer. There we go. The pointer here, if you look, these are lap joints instead of scarf joints. He didn't put it on any foundation. He just put some unleveled rocks and he put them poorly. I'm surprised this stood up for 5 years. He didn't put any lateral supports across the, but he didn't really need to because he put an outer sheathing. Now these cross braces, they didn't do anything. These across here did a little more than these. But these are 1x4s, which is correct. But if he would have made lap joints instead of scarf joints, he would have put a ridge cap or a ridge pole running down the length of the building to where all of the, like this man's here, where all of the spreader are nailed or screwed into the top joint. That would have worked. So yeah, you can even build them poorly. And he does a good failure analysis on his building. He did it 85% right. If he would have just done 5% more and put the ridge cap in, this would still be standing today. And that was 7 years ago. It lasted 5. So with that said, I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to put these links in the description below. Here's a guy that you can look here. He's showing how to lay them out, make the arch. And I'm going to have to make the difference between a first frequency and a second frequency Gothic arch. A first frequency Gothic arch is where, let me go back to this one. If you see these boards from here to here, the length of these bow boards are the same length as the width. That is a second frequency, which makes it kind of fatter, and those are more popular for greenhouses, more popular for those types of applications. But if you have a first frequency, which is the boards are 20 to 30% longer than your width of your building, which makes a taller arch and not as harsh of a bow. Those are more popular in the boat sheds and houses where you need a second story. So again, this guy shows us, this guy shows you layout, but his, if you notice, is, I think is 20 or 24 foot wide. So what he did is he laid up the arches with 1x4s with the spreaders. And the wider you go apart, the closer your spacing between your spreader boards are. So he has a good one, but then what he did is he came along and put a second 1x4 on the outside and on the inside to make the heavier arches. And that when you do that, that starts at 18 feet, I think, is when you have to do the second outer, And that goes all the way up to into the 30-foot wide range. So again, building a Gothic arch, with the wider it is, the more expensive it is. Okay, this guy, I like his. At first, I thought he did the 2x4 method, but they're 1x4s. And I think this one is, I forgot what he said. But I like this channel. This guy does a pretty good explanation of it. But what I really like is here, in this video. And I'll play it here. And what he's going to do is demonstrate how one person can put these up. Notice he put in a foundation. I used to watch his channel a lot years ago, but now I haven't watched it much. I didn't watch all of his video on this. What I liked is his idea. He goes through it pretty. He goes through his pretty thoroughly. So let's see. See, he's putting in here on this end. He has a hinge. Okay, he'll get to it again here. See, there's hinges here. See, he's putting the hinges on. And he's putting a hinge. So he's putting up 2 arches, 8 foot apart. Oh, by the way, the spacing on arches is usually 4 foot on centers. See how he's got the hinges on the edge over here, over there. Then he screws in the hinge here. Okay. And then watch how he puts it up. This is important. See how he put the ridge cap or the ridge beam? It's a struggle. But watch how he does this. I like this guy's stuff. I mean, why I first watched him is he got an old excavator on his homestead, fixed it up, did what he needed to do, and then sold the excavator. I like this guy's theories, his plans, his ideas of his homestead. See how that went up? And then he put in cross braces so it doesn't wobble. Got him squared up as best he could. There you are. See how he's just got these on a little dug-in foundation, leveled out. I think he put a concrete floor in there. I don't know what he actually did. Okay, so now he's putting the other bows up. He screwed it in. See how he screwed those end caps in? There he goes. Gets it up. See how he screws that, toe screws that in? Could have toenailed that in the same as he did. There you are. He got the arch up, and then I'll put the middle arch in 4 feet apart. So let's not make this video too long. Here's a guy that built a house. And you see how he just put the see how he put the lateral. He didn't put them everywhere, but he only put them where he needed them. And he showed how he put the second floor in, the loft. And this is a first frequency because you notice it's taller and closer to an A-frame. Now, wind load, when a wind comes in, it's not hitting a flat square wall. It's hitting this arch and just builds up and goes over. That's why it can handle extreme. And on the other end, when the snow comes down, it builds up here and it's not pushing against the side like an A-frame. This takes more wind load, more wind and snow load. Now he went closer spacing than he needed to, a lot closer spacing than he needed to. Usually you stick to 4 foot, but I think he went 24 inches on center. You could have gone 3 feet, 4 feet on center and still had a rigid enough structure. You did not have to go with this much material. But he overbuilt. I think when I watched fully through his videos that I think he was in construction trade, and he said, yeah, I built them on centers as if they were 2 foot on centers instead of 4 foot on centers, as if it was a construction built house. I don't know if he had to do that to get an approval, or he just did it because he didn't understand that he could have gotten away with it. Also, when you put these panels on, whether it's sheathing or whatever, when you bend a panel, instead of it being flat, when you curve the panel, it's stronger. That's where the strength of these come from, boat building, not from home construction or here it is inside. He could have easily gone with 4 foot on centers. See how he put this lateral in here? And this guy, he built the Gothic Arch structure, and he put some temporary forms in, and he built it, and he put aircrete inside. This is the best idea. This takes more tools, more time, and a little bit more skill. And it doesn't get into the advantages of building it this way. But long term, this is a better outer shell construction. The Gothic Arch holds it there. He fills it with the aircrete, and then puts the stucco on the outside to waterproof it. Very, very good idea. This is the best of all ideas. He shows how to do it. Again, I will put that in the description of the channel. So starting, how not to do it. Okay. He even tells you what he did wrong. Very good after failure analysis. And then he goes through in the building and shows you how he built it wrong. But it shows you that even building it wrong, it still stood up. I think he said 5 years. Again, proper header board or ridge board, spacer boards, 1x4s, very light, very easy construction. And here's a guy building the much bigger. Oh, the breaking point is 16 feet. Anything over 16 feet, they start getting much more expensive. This one over here, where he built this, I think he's building that one for a boat shed, and he went through it pretty good. But he noticed he only put laterals every third or fourth spacer board. But again, don't make this guy's mistakes. Lap joints, minimal decent tied foundation. And you can put it on a pad, a small cement pad. You can put it on a deck. You can put it on many different foundations, but the foundation does not have to be that much. If you go back to This guy's foundation, it's almost nothing, and it'll stand up for a long time just with those little boards in there. But I think he poured a pad in that. I don't remember. I didn't go through all of his videos recently. You see, he only put those boards in here. It doesn't take much of a foundation. That's again, light building, little, just a few, just as if you're going to build a deck and you just tie it to the deck. So wrapping it up, ridge board, lap joints, decent tied to the foundation. Oh, I got to go back to this guy. I think he built it in a moderate climate, but if you do this in a moderate climate, you're okay. But if you do this in a cold climate and you put in traditional fiberglass insulation, you have a problem. It's going to turn to mold. It's going to make you sick because the condensation is not letting out the. And if you're going to put in cold climate, you're going to put a metal roof on it. You have to put a small sheathing. You have to put a vapor barrier, and you have to put a 1/2-inch gap where it lets out that moisture and vapor. And you want that 1/2-inch gap between your sheathing and your metal, so it lets out the moisture and doesn't mold. That is really important. Now, 2 ways you can do this in cold climates and not make yourself sick. 1 is rock wool. 2 is spray foam. Spray foam up against it because there's no air gap, and the spray foam insulation makes a good enough air seal. It makes a good enough air seal and enough insulation that there's not going to be condensation between the insulation and the metal roofing. So be careful about metal roofing. And how you insulate the metal roofing. Cold climates or extremely humid climates, you have to put in a minimal sheathing, a vapor barrier, and then your 1/2-inch gap to let the moisture run down, and come out the bottom here. Again, there's a lot of ideas on how to do this. Oh, here you can see how he tied those together. He didn't make a good ridge cap here, but the way he tied them together and put the lateral support down here, this is a good way of doing it. And then if you notice how he put it up in here and he put all the boarding on the inside, he did it right. As long as you tie these together, but he made his lateral supports this way, close enough to the ridge, but he should have put a ridge beam on there. And he put he did a good job on the tie boards, putting a reinforcement right up here. Unlike all he did was kind of tie it together a little up here. He didn't do a good job of a ridge board and and the reinforcement ties. I think I've gotten this good enough. So out here.